From being called unconstitutional to being termed as an attempt to increase the Hindu footprint in Jammu and Kashmir, to a hearing in the Supreme Court where a lawyer said that Kashmir became a part of the country only after Article 370 was scrapped in August 2019. The Jammu and Kashmir Delimitation Commission's report has raked up a storm over the past few days. But what does this entire exercise of delimitation actually mean, and why is it controversial? I'll tell you in this episode of KYC, or Know Your Constitution. Okay, let us first understand what delimitation actually means. Now, India is divided into different areas for elections. We know that we vote within our constituencies and we elect a person who represents that constituency in the government. Delimitation is basically the exercise drawing the boundaries for these constituencies. Such an exercise is usually needed because of changes or rise in population or the migration of people, or when a state is divided into two or more states. So these boundaries are revised to ensure proper representation of people in the state legislative assembly and in the parliament. In other words, the main objective of delimitation is to provide equal representation to equal segments of a population. Which is exactly why Article 170 of the Constitution says that each state needs to be divided into territorial constituencies in such a manner that the ratio between the population of each constituency and the number of seats allotted to it is almost the same throughout the state. Number of seats in the state legislative assembly. Now, assembly states in the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir were last redrawn in 1995 based on the 1981 census. Earlier, before Article 370 was scrapped, Jammu and Kashmir Assembly had 111 seats in total, 46 in Kashmir, 37 in Jammu, so 83 in total, and 4 in Ladakh, plus 24 reserved for Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But when Ladakh was carved out as a separate union territory, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019 increased the seats for Jammu and Kashmir to 114, 90 for Jammu and Kashmir, plus 24 reserved for POK. This meant that now suddenly there were 7 more seats, so the boundaries had to be redrawn. So a delimitation commission was set up on 6th March 2020. Jammu and Kashmir panel submitted its report earlier this month, and out of those 7 extra seats that I told you about earlier, the commission has added 6 new assembly seats for the Jammu region and 1 for Kashmir. As per the report, the total seats in Jammu region will now go up to 43 from 37, Kashmir to 47 from the existing 46. What this means is that the Muslim majority provinces 68.88 lakh residents based on the 2011 census will be represented by 47 legislators, while the Jammu region's 53.78 lakhs people will have 43. In addition, the commission has also recommended to the centre to nominate at least 2 Kashmiri migrants, Kashmiri Pandits, to the legislature and to consider giving some representation to persons displaced from Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, why has this report been controversial? It's because delimitation of Jammu and Kashmir has always been a politically volatile issue, since it is directly related to the representation of Muslim-dominated Kashmir and Hindu-dominated Jammu in the Legislative Assembly, and that's exactly the concern this time as well. To let you know a bit more about the report, for the first time in Jammu and Kashmir, 9 seats have been reserved for scheduled tribes. 6 of the ST reserved seats were in Jammu region and 3 in the Kashmir Valley. 7 seats have been reserved for scheduled castes. The commission also hasn't made public exactly how it arrived at its decision, leaving many questions unanswered. Also, a few more concerns have been raised too. So the exercise has been conducted in accordance with the provisions of the 2019 Reorganization Act, but the law is currently under challenge in the Supreme Court. Additionally, the delimitation process is currently frozen across the country. Delimitation commissions have been constituted 4 times in the past in India, in 1952, 1963, 1973 and in 2002, and the constitution was amended in 2002 to freeze the exercise throughout the country till the first census after 2026 is published. That means the exercise will only take place once the 2031 census data is published. In 2002, this exercise was frozen separately in Jammu and Kashmir till 2026 as well. But the 2019 Act had a provision which made Jammu and Kashmir the only place in the country to undergo a delimitation exercise based on the population figures recorded in the 2011 census. This has, of course, that is why, come under criticism as well. And a sum total of all these moves have led to the political parties in Kashmir calling it unconstitutional, a sinister plan to disempower and disenfranchise the people of the valley. But politicians in Jammu, of course, have welcomed it, calling it a means to bring a power balance in the region. Leaders in the valley have also called the delimitation an attempt to increase the Hindu footprint in Jammu and Kashmir. But the process is also, on the other hand, being seen as the first step towards holding fresh elections in the region that has been under the central rule for 3 years now. The matter has reached the Supreme Court as well, where a petition has been filed by 2 Srinagar residents challenging the entire delimitation exercise. It was during the hearing of this case that the Supreme Court had to caution a lawyer, one of the lawyers, to be careful about his language. In the course of his arguments, he said that Kashmir became a part of the country after abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A of the Constitution in August 2019. But for now, the court has fixed the next date of hearing as 30th August, so we'll have to wait and see what happens next then. That's all I have for you for now. This is Apoorva Mandhani for The Print. For more such videos, do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.